And hello, everyone. I'm so happy to welcome you here at our HR and IT'21 online summit. Hello, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me well. It's kind of a sound check, and we are about to start our event. I was waiting for this event actually for a long time. I'd like to see if you can hear me. Just write something on chat. We can hear you. Okay, and more. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, HR in IT. That's the community we'll launch today. It's a really important event for Geekle because, by the way, it's 19th event for Geekle during this kind of 18 month. We are like, yes, we can hear you. Cool. Yeah, during the last 18 months, we've been working with IT community to educate, to find the way to develop people's skills and engineering skills and soft skills. Anyway, we right now we have 130,000 developers in our community. All of them are software developers, engineers, and people who involved in this IT sphere. And this summit is something incredible because like we are really deeply respect you people. You actually hold hearts of all these developers in your hands. You're the people who are in charge of their happiness and productivity and career growth and project development itself and business growth. Actually, I respect HR as much. And here is with me our community manager, Ksenia. Hello, Ksenia. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, totally fine. Absolutely happy finally to see you guys here. There is like half a year of preparations, and finally we are all set and happy.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2 days of awesome tech talks, and not only tech talks, but for tech people, 9 blocks, 44 awesome speakers, and we are absolutely happy to see you.
44 speakers. People, can you imagine that? 44 speakers. But how did you manage like to find that much speakers on like quite tight segment of knowledge?
Actually, I contacted more than 1,000 people to find these 44 stars. So yeah.
More than 1,000 people. So you can imagine how deeply like we work on that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and also I appreciate the help of our partners, and a lot of speakers join us, thanks to them too. And absolutely happy that we also have 4 media partners that supported us during all this half of a year. And thanks to them, we will have this awesome audience.
Awesome. So what is this event about? Just few words. Actually, our idea was together, all HRs together who involved in IT sphere to talk about like, yeah, everyone understand the environment has changed. It's new era, and we do not like sell this idea. But the main idea of this event is to talk about what worked now, what's new challenges, what's new tools, what's new methods or new ideas you have like tested in in this new environment where people like mostly remote, and what works, what not, what's better, what problems, maybe some success stories or failure stories. That's actually what we're talking about. And what blocks of this event can you like?
Okay, so there is 9 blocks. For the Recruiter Day, there is New Era Challenge block, the first one. Then we have talent acquisition, team engagement, professional development for HR, and HR best strategies. And for the second day, for Human Resources Day, we'll have employer brand challenges, HR in startups, remote as a challenge, and digital transformation cases in HR.
Yeah, so that's what actually not we decided, but the program committee.
Yeah, our awesome 10 program committee members helped us to approve our speakers, to help them to change something. They've got gave us a lot of ideas how we can manage these summits, and in the result, everything we have is thanks to our program committee members too.
Yeah, so it's simply how it works. We contact like the most known or like probably influencing people in the world in this sphere, and trying to take what's new, what's your thoughts, what do you use, what do you work on right now, and then we show it to program committee, and program committee decides who can share their experience on our events. So we have lots of partners actually. That's how we managed to gather 2,500 people registered on this event. Well, usually our events way bigger, like 5,000 plus, and the biggest event was 15,000. But this is non-technical event today, because usually it's software developers. They know us, they follow us. Today is mostly HRs, and it's kind of challenge for us to gather new kind of auditory here. So 2,500 people who join here to improve their HR vision and to move forward, to know the newest stuff in the field. That's great.
Yeah, we're absolutely happy to have our audience today, because actually I think the first idea from Geekle to organize this summit was to make something for those people. Thanks to these people, we have so many software developers in the right companies, in the right places, and we have great industries. So I think there is a lot of stuff to discuss, right?
Awesome, but no more words or something. We have great speakers, but first of all, we have awesome moderators, and let's talk about that. Who will be moderating this event?
Our first moderator is Noleen Thompson. She is managing partner and the founder of Ladybugs. And
bugs like bugs?
Yeah, bugs like bugs. And
awesome.
I really like this branding, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a great person who helped us a lot. And I really appreciate you with us here. Noleen, are you ready?
Yeah, jump in. We're waiting for you.
Jump in.
Oh, here you are. But you're, yeah.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Hello. How are you guys?
We are absolutely happy.
I'm excited, nervous, like always on the event. Despite it's an online event, but I'm still nervous every time. And how are you? Where are you now?
I'm good. I'm nervous. So, I'm hailing from South Africa.
Oh.
And, yes, so our weather today is unknown, because we look outside and it's supposed to be spring, but it's cloudy. We don't know if it's going to rain. But otherwise, we are from South Africa, getting warmer at least. And down there?
Yeah. Well, right now here is in autumn, so it's usual weather here.
It's 4 seasons in one season, actually.
I know that. Yeah. So, what do you feel? What's your expectation from this event?
I've been in the training and development and HR space for over 20 years, and I think this is such an awesome opportunity to get HR more aware of how to engage better with the IT talent and the engineers within the organizations, because there's often a mismatch between the CIO objectives and HR objectives. And I think this is a great opportunity to bring everybody into the same space and actually have one conversation and streamline the business a little bit better.
That's awesome. Let's do it. Actually, our audience is mostly HRs, senior recruiters,
talent acquisition leads, even brand manager joined us. There are also a lot of CEOs of small and medium businesses. So I hope they will have a great chance to hear and have good insights from our summit.
Yeah, because I am a CEO of my company, and I understand.
CEO?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I understand. It's crucial actually to understand how to manage people right now, how to help them. I feel like it's my direct responsibility to make my people still productive while they are remote. Actually, that's my challenge. How can I deliver that kind of methods or environment for my guys when they are like alone in their rooms or whatever. By the way, write on chat, where are you from? Where are you now? Maybe you are here in Ukraine. Where are Ukrainians, by the way? We're in Kiev. Or maybe you are in bathroom or in kitchen or in South Africa or in Japan or whatever. Just let us know where you're watching us from. And yeah, Noleen, I guess the floor is yours. Like, yeah, go and do it. Whatever.
Are you ready for that?
I just wanted to add that actually Noleen is also our speaker today in the same blog. And yeah, the floor is absolutely yours. I thought you that you will be the queen of this blog. And actually she will have the topic regarding like how to make your employees your biggest fans. So yeah,
I will listen to this talk for sure. But the one thing we forgot, actually, this first blog is absolutely free for our for every attendee. And if you want to attend all these events, just go to our website. We'll throw our link there and buy the full package and stay with us all these days. Anyway, Noleen, it's yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. As a little bit of an introduction, who I am is I've had an industry and been in the HR and training space for over 20 years. And I've learned so much and passionate about all the speakers that are coming up today. Our first speaker, so I'm just going to add her in, is Nidhi Chopra. Sorry if I mispronounced it. She comes from Adobe, but she's an inspiring, thoughtful, risk-take HR leader who believes in maximizing outcomes, enables those around her. Her passion is to use her coaching skills in helping her find the ideal match between talent and people and the goals an effectively engaged organization. I'm not going to give you a whole bio. You can connect with her on LinkedIn, but here's a fascinating thing that I found about her, which she doesn't know about. What's actually on her LinkedIn profile. She's a co-author of a children's ebook series called The Adventures of the Garbage Man. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that before you start.
Thank you, Helene, for the opportunity. And I hope all of you can hear me well. Could you give me a nod so I know? Great, thank you. And such a pleasure to be with you and great energy to get started. So you got it right. Yes, I am a co-author with my husband of this book. And the story is because of our son's passion. I have a 5-year-old son who's been passionate about garbage trucks since he was 2.5 years old. And we just decided to turn our conversations into stories because he couldn't be convinced to dress up as any other superhero but the garbage man. So every Halloween, I have to create a garbage truck costume for him. And that's how we came up with the book.
Wow. Oh, wow. That is amazing. I mean, that's such an interesting story. So also, Nidhi, her time, so my time at the moment is 9 o'clock in the morning. This is the beauty of virtual conferences. And Nidhi is from Australia, am I correct? And
That's
it's
right.
5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, Nidhi's already lived this day and we're only just starting. So that's amazing. If you're ready to present and ready to share your presentation, you can take the floor.
Absolutely. Let me get that set up as I speak to you.
Perfect.
Give me a second.
And I see that loads of people are joining us, and there's a lot of people from Ukraine, some people from India. Welcome, everybody. Tell us where you're from in the chat, and we'll also welcome you during the session. We're just waiting. Okay, there you go. And you've got the floor.
Awesome. So thank you, Elaine. I can see that. So I'm hoping everyone can see my screen there. And for those who are just joining, I am Nidhi Chopra. I am a senior HR business partner with Adobe and really excited to see you today. And as Helene said, it's end of day for me and beginning of day for you all. And that's the beauty of Virtual Connect. Now, I firstly hope that everyone is keeping safe and doing well. Now, I'm joining for Sydney, so I like to get started with acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, which I belong to or I'm dialing in from. I want to acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging. And I love the ability today with talking to all of you across the world. And as I shared in my intro here as well, I'm very passionate about building people's careers and very passionate about using my career story as insights that anyone could take on or hopefully can learn from or take away from my learnings and places where I could have done better as well to benefit your own. I'm also a parent to two beautiful young boys and blessed with a supportive husband, which has been really instrumental in terms of how I have been enabled to take risk along my career. And as mentioned, I love writing books and hence would love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn who's trying to look at those creative ways to bring things and conversations to life. Would love to share the journey. Now, as I talk about this topic, I want to get started by my own career. Now, as part of my own HR career, I've always wanted to be a certified coach. I had put myself a goal to enroll in a coaching certification in 2018. Did a lot of research over a year and finally found a coaching certification that resonated. But that was in US. And I inquired and found out that it had 4 modules of trainings that required a travel every week, at least one week every month, and stay in the US. I thought of checking and I reached out to that institute and said, do you have an online module by any chance? Now, the institute was very clear that face-to-face learning was integral to this course, and they never planned to go online. They were saying it is impossible because that interaction is key to our course. The cost of those logistics and just going and traveling and the discomfort was more than the certification in itself. So I had to park that. And then in 2019, I had my second son, went on maternity leave, and put that goal aside. Come 2020, we all know the whole world changed. There was the pandemic. I returned back from my maternity leave. And like many of you who are with me on the call today, it was all remote working. And as I settled back into work, I again opened my development plan. I looked at this dream again, the 2018 dream of doing the coaching certification. I reluctantly went on to this institute's website thinking maybe the things might have changed. And to my delight, the course has become completely virtual. Something that the institute said they would never do and had never imagined is now possible. And I'm very excited to share that I am actually kicking off that coaching journey in November. Now, you must be wondering, why am I sharing this story with you today? And, what relevance does it have to the topic? When you reflect on this story, I think what it tells is, as we live in today's world, the gap between the have and the don't have is bridging fast. This new digital world where connections are now happening virtually has created a level playing field. And it's beautiful to me that how the learning platforms and opportunities are accessible to all. It's almost like the world is our oyster, it's in our hand. And as we realize this, that opportunities can come and go fast, we can't help but ask ourselves, how can we be proactive in staying career relevant in this fast-paced world? Now, like I look at this word proactive, when I reflected on it, being proactive to me means being bold. Taking some decisions which make you the driver of your career. And what distinguishes or differentiates a driver are 2 aspects. These are intention and transferable skills. Now, when you look at these aspects, you may hear a lot of things because there are too many more. You could hear many other aspects that contribute, but I personally feel that these are the two that truly differentiate and allows a driver to have that unique position. I would love for you also, as I share these learnings, to chime in chat and share with each other some of these experiences of what intention means. Because intention is like having a purpose. It's like having a goal, a target, or an aspiration. When you are driving your career, I think all of us try to put aside an aspiration and a goal. But what I feel is it's not just about that aspiration. It is more important to express that intention. Career drivers bring accountability by expressing their intention to others. And these others are the network of people who help support you and enable your career. You can almost assume this as a helping hand. And if we look at this hand, we've got 5 fingers. And this network of people is like these 5 fingers. The first one being your manager. Your managers are someone who provide you with feedback and they support you in growing within the organization. An effective career driver or a proactive career driver ensures that they involve their managers in their career journey, in their development. A career driver is transparent to their managers about their goals and seeks support. I really recall one story when I talk about the manager and the career driver relationship. And this was an employee during my career journey who wanted to move from an account manager or a customer success role to a sales role. For today's call, let's call her Ruby. And Ruby was a top performer, but she was a bit hesitant to inform her manager because often top performers also feel that the manager didn't want them to leave their team. You know, the manager would like to keep them in the team and grow in their team and be hesitant for them to apply to their other roles. So Ruby never talked about this aspiration to be a salesperson. And then a role opened up in the organization and Ruby wanted to raise her hand. Of course, it was a surprise for her manager. Keeping the surprise aside, Ruby lacked on a skill, which was negotiation skills. Now, as an account manager or a customer success manager, maybe that was an important skill, but it wasn't the top skill that she and her manager were working on as part of her development. However, it was very important for this sales role that she was aspiring for. Unfortunately, Ruby didn't make to that role, and she was disappointed, as we would expect. But she was hesitant now to go back to the manager because she felt their trust was shaken. Over time, Ruby left the organization. As an HR professional, when I reflect on it, the story could have been completely different. Had Ruby, as a career driver, been transparent about her aspiration, the manager and her would have worked on building the skill of negotiation. They would have developed, she would have been ready for taking on a new role and might have had a different outcome. So it's very important to remember that this first layer of network, our managers, they act as enablers within the organization. And let's not forget, our managers also help being an important decision maker to build the success and be the decision makers on our readiness for the next opportunity. So the more you involve your managers, the stronger your network is, the stronger your expressed intention is. Looking at the second person on the network, these are role models. Often we call them the mentors as well. And the mentors are the people who have a similar journey to the aspiration that you are having. They are maybe in the role that you aspire for, or they have done that role over their career journey. Personally, for me, I remember being in touch with my mentor, and that really helped me gain a perspective, especially when I was conflicted in a career decision. Now, a lot of organizations, I remember, including mine, a couple of years ago, shifted to an HR model of shared services. Many of you, I heard, are from HR industry today with us, might remember the time when a lot of organizations shifted the model to create a shared services organization for scale. And that was also to help elevate the roles like us as HR business partners to move at and partner at a strategic level with business leaders, while the shared services organization provided that expertise to the wider employee network. My organization was making a similar transition around 2014. And in 2014, I was an HR business partner. And I was offered in that transformation a role to take up as employee relations. Quite honestly, I was a bit skeptical. I didn't think of that at that time as a step up, and I was conflicted. It was then that having a mentor really helped me. And it helped me gain a new perspective on my strengths and how my strengths aligned to this opportunity. I trusted them and I took on that role. And now in the hindsight, as I look at it, that was one of the best decisions I made. That's because I trusted and I consulted. I took another perspective in my network by looking at a role model. And taking that advice has accelerated my career growth and opened the door for multiple new roles, including the move outside of India. So make sure that you also look at in your network a mentor that can give you that perspective. Now let's look at the third person in the network. These are influencers, or I call them as well-wishers as well. They believe in you. They amplify your voice further in the network. They connect you with opportunities that you haven't seen. And these could be people in your extended teams, your client group, your customers, people that you're working with outside of your immediate team. I again remember my mentor giving me the advice of the importance of influencers. And my mentor told me one task in my early career. Nidhi, you need to speak up at least once in every meeting or the town hall. At an early career, it was quite uncomfortable. And I remember that I'd be very tempted to just stay quiet at times, but then I'd be prompted by my mentor and asked the question if I ended up speaking or not. And I'd be honest in that. And that has helped me build a network of those well-wishers who knew me. That visibility helped me gain certain well-wishers who would speak for me when there was an opportunity and I wasn't in the room. Or who would come and tap on my shoulder to say, that's a project you can do. Why don't you raise your hand for it? Having the well-wishers helps you gain confidence over your career journey and then helps you drive your career staying proactive. The fourth in your network is the coach. Now, coaches are someone who would ask you the tough questions. Now, they would ask you to reflect. Coach would ask you to pause, and they would help you in self-discovery. They can be external or internal in your organization. And I didn't have a coach up until recently because often, like many others, I would think, what's the point in going to someone who's going to send me back and ask me to find my own answers? And I was naive because I didn't realize the clarity or the power of clarity that a coach brings. The power in pausing and stopping that the coach allows you to reflect. My coach has helped me build a very clear vision for myself, which now helps me guide to making my career decisions. My conversations with my coach help me get clarity on my priorities. And it's easier now to make choices when I'm thinking about my career around the next step that I want to take. The last but not the least is your peer group, the fifth on this network. These can be peers inside or outside the organization. These are people that you work with every day and get inspired to do more. Personally, I'm inspired when I work in teams where people are better than me. I can look up to them for learning. Now, I again remember a time from my career when we were making some org shifts and we lost some good talent. And there was uncertainty, there was a smaller team, and there were not too many people to look up to. It brought down my own desire to grow. It made me complacent, and I was kind of okay with my career journey. At that time, I had a college friend, so a peer group outside of my company. He was planning to move outside of countries to get new exposure. Not that I had to follow his course, but just looking at his desire to learn, to be comfortable with the unknown, inspired me to look at my own career differently. And then it wasn't long after that I raised my hand for the opportunity to move to Australia, to take on a different role or a different direction in my career. So let's see if you can bring out your notepad, digital notes, whatever you're taking today, and count these 5 people, if you have them today, in each category. Write down for me in your own notes the name of your immediate manager, if you have one. Write down this name only if you've made them aware of your aspirations, of your desire and the goal. Mention your role model. Write down a name of a role model that you are in touch with. Don't write down a name if you know and you hope for them to be your role model. Today, write down a name for someone you're in touch with. Write a well-wisher or an influencer who you know can trust you and will speak up for you. Write down a coach that you're in touch with. And finally, any of your peers that today inspires you. If you've written these 5 names, I would love for you to take the action today to change this from 5 to 10. Write another name and look for that person. However, if you were missing a link, I would also encourage you to take the action to add that missing link and come to this count of 5 so that you can build your network. Now, having known about network and expressed intent, let's also talk about the second aspect. That's called the transferable skills. Now, transferable skills are skills that can be applied across multiple areas of life. But since we are talking about career development, we'll stick to transferable skills that can be applied to multiple roles. It is important that as you create your career vision, you're thoughtful about transferable skills that you're adding to your tool belt. It's because your next career move will not depend on the job titles you've carried in the past. It's the transferable skills you can take to the future that will address the new desires or the new needs of the world. Some great examples of transferable skills are communication, strategic thinking, change management, teamwork, problem solving, influencing, and many more. While it's possible to learn transferable skills through reading, training classes, I find the best way to learn transferable skills is through experiences. It is through experience of volunteering for stretch projects, by experience of taking on cross-functional assignments, by experience of community activities, or experiences of shadowing. Let's talk about each as an example. Now, volunteering or stretch assignments are something that you do on top of your job. These are things that challenge your current skill set, and they help you build new skills, these new transferable skills. A great way to identify such stretch assignments is to look for your next level up and see what are they doing differently. If you are in the HR space, an example could be if you're an HR generalist, you could today be talking to employees and managers, and your next level up requires you to talk to your business leaders. You could be taking on assignments, raising your hands for volunteering and stretch to kind of take part in maybe planning, taking part in identifying business gaps and raising your hand for areas to find solutions. The caution only I would say is don't take up multiple stretch assignments or volunteering activities. Because the key to remember is these are skills you don't have, you're building. So you want to give them enough time and energy so that you do well at that. One of the best advice I received from someone in my career was, Nidhi, you don't need to be everywhere, but be selective in choosing the stretch opportunities and the places which will help you in your next step. So my advice would be, as you look up for these stretch assignments, think about the skill you want to gain and pick up that one thing and look for that assignment. Another way of taking up assignments are cross-functional projects. What they help in building is these may not be additional skills that you're gaining, but they're skills that you build, like collaboration, like working in teams that you're not working immediately with, expanding your network, and then thinking strategically, because often cross-functional projects are associated with your big bets, the focus and the priorities of your business. So they are the most impactful ways to gain a wider business knowledge. Another way is combining this with your passion, like a community service or getting involved in corporate social responsibility. What that helps you is beyond your business, it helps you with gaining skills like planning. It helps you with gaining skills like expanding your network again and collaborating. It helps you around gaining a new perspective that you can apply to your business. Last but not least is shadowing and observing someone who role models the skills you want. This is the learning that you gain by observing. And here again, the example is, if I want to learn the skills of maybe making a sales pitch, it is very important I choose the right person to shadow and work with them to choose the right opportunity. Like I may be shadowing a great seller, and I would want the opportunity to join them and observe them when they are making a sales pitch early in the journey of their customer meetings. But if I wanted to learn presentation or public speaking, I would join them in a place where they are addressing a large audience, or they're addressing a group of people, maybe towards even the end, like a negotiation. So it's very important to have the right selection of shadowing opportunities, which then helps you and your shadower find the right selection of activities to help you gain these skills. You can have multiple people to shadow to gain one skill so that you can get different styles, or you could shadow multiple people to gain multiple skills too. It's upon you. It's very important to identify these opportunities clearly and be intentional in your development plan to gain the experiences that will help you enhance and build these skills. So before we close today, I'll do another little exercise to get you started on your journey. And for those of you who don't have a development plan or haven't worked on this, I'd encourage you to let's take an example together. Now write one transferable skill that you want to be known for. Write it on your little notepad or digital notes, or you want to share in the chat, you can share as well to get some examples going. I'll share my example as you're thinking. My example of transferable skill is executive presence. Now let's take yourself in future. Now let's imagine that you are successful at gaining this transferable skill. Like Nidhi has gained the skill of executive presence. Let's imagine what it looks like for you. Write the words that describe success for your transferable skill. What comes to your mind? What's happening around you? Write a couple of words. Again, to give you an example, to trigger your thinking, when I think of myself as successful on executive skills, I think of these words: having great business knowledge, having great articulation, well prepared, well presented, confident, inspirational. I'm sure you can see that we started with one word of executive presence, but it has so much more meaning and depth behind it when we start talking about success and what it means to you. The journey from here is to pick up each of these words and then define not more than 1 to 2 actions against each so that you can define a clear action plan or a development plan. An example could be if I pick up great articulation, do I need to do a presentation course? Maybe do I need to build my own elevator pitch or reach out to someone in my organization like the communications team? If it's business knowledge, it could be completely different development action. Do I need to do, again, a stretch project? Do I need to do some reading? Do I need to shadow someone? I would encourage you all, as you take away from this session today, to pick up that one transferable skill, write down your own words, and think of 1 to 2 actions against each word. And once you have your plan ready, I would like you to share it with your network. Be intentional about it. Share with your manager, your mentor, your well-wishers, your coach, and your friend. And that's what I'd like you to take away. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I really sincerely hope that you can take some actionable insights from today's session to be proactive and staying career relevant. Thank you, and great to see you again, Noleen.
Hello. Well done. I mean, I think those 5 points that you mentioned, I think I have 1 or 2 of those lacking as I'm a leader in my business. So, making sure that I have someone that I'm I do have a coach, but it's making sure that extra level is covered. So I love how you've made it practical for everybody to incorporate something and make them accountable. So in other words, making them share their aspirations on what they're wanting to become. So thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. You're going to be joining us later for the Q&A session. So there's a couple of questions that are coming through. Those people who have questions, please do send it through. We're going to have the panelists back up, or the speakers back up in a panel discussion for a Q&A session later. So thank you, Nidhi. I really appreciate it, and have a good day further.
Thank you. I'll join you later. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. So now I have the pleasure of announcing Noleen to the yes, no, I'm announcing myself. I'm going to be talking today a little bit more about how to make your employees your biggest fans, and not from employee advocacy, because a lot of people think that if you're on LinkedIn, they're going to get a job, or if you help them in the HR space, you're going to, what if I train them and they leave? But what if you train them and they stay? So, it's that situation. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to share a little bit more on my findings within the learning and development space, and as well as from how marketing can actually help you attract the right talent into your business. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go full presentation mode, which means I'm not going to be able to see what's going on a little bit. Just let me know if you guys can hear me. Let's just make sure first. Can you guys all hear? Awesome. Okay. So your biggest employees are your employees are your biggest fans, if you allow them to be. In other words, have you invested into your employees to start advocating for the best talent to come into your organization? Did you know 62% of people that trust the brand's social media more than its advertising? So how often do we kind of scroll and we see sponsored content, and we kind of go, and we go to what people are saying, what a person has shared in their network, whether it be a company post or whether it be an article, content, a video, a poll. I mean, nowadays it's, the sky is the limit. But from a content perspective, people are trusting the people within your business more than they are your advertising. And this is an important information to understand, that when you're sponsoring content, it's about making sure it's the right content you're sponsoring. So this is from the Edelman Trust Barometer. Employees now are the most important stakeholder. So pre-pandemic, the customer is king, right? The customer is always right. Now people are holding on to their employees a lot longer and a lot harder, because in a remote situation, how are we supposed to make sure that we're onboarding people? We don't want them to leave. The employees' wellness and mindset and productive and making sure they have the right tools are so important now for organizations, rather than just the customer. The customer, yes, pays the bills, but the employees ensure that the customer is happy. So if your employees are happy, guess what? You've got happy customers. A critical role for employers is the trust barometer. So my employer, I trust 77. It's on the trust barometer. Now, what does that mean? It means I don't trust the media. The media is kind of like neutral with all the misinformation, especially during the pandemic. We know that media has played a big role in that misinformation, but so has incorrect information, government, NGOs. But what we want to do is make people understand that we're organically and authentic in our approach to putting our brand out there to attract the right talent. That the authenticity of a brand is more believed than all the others. So belief-driven employees are loyal and committed. So I want to stay working for this organization for many years has increased over the last year by 13 points. I do more than what's expected has increased by 16 points. I think it also has a little bit of relation back to jobs and the availability and the scarcity of jobs in the market right now, with businesses unfortunately going down. But what you want to do is create that loyalty and share that loyalty on platforms where the other people can be attracted. When you are seeking top talent, you need to be able to share what your current top talent is doing. Belief-driven employees are more likely to advocate. So in other words, I will recommend our products and services, and I will recommend the organization as an employer to others. Now, as HR professionals, this is, and people that are doing recruiting on a daily basis, this is key. Why? Because no longer are we, feeding a little channel of people and saying, this is the information you're allowed to see and no more. They're going to look at the employees. When you go onto LinkedIn, you can see who are the employees of that specific organization, connect with them and say, how's it? So I've got an interview with John tomorrow, and I'm wanting to just find out information more about the company. And if that person doesn't say nice things, guess what? I'm not going to even go to the interview. You want to make sure that everything that is going out now is not necessarily curated, but everybody has a voice. So like Nidhi spoke earlier, is one of her managers actually said that in every single meeting, you must be speaking and find your voice, and ask a question. So give your employees that option to have a voice if they so wish. So mind the gap and walk and talk on your values. How many people have said, oh, we're about authenticity, and then, yes, something comes out that's not very authentic. We're driving popular beliefs in terms of LGBTQ, but in the meantime, there's no one in the organization, the people in the organization are not necessarily feeling that they're adding into that cause for organizations. So when you are saying that you're totally inclusive and you're wanting people to have a voice, act on that and make sure that you have the people in the organization to reflect that. So I found an interesting case study last night. Yes, I was preparing updated content for the talk last minute, as I was a surprise guest. But from a content perspective, these are the most trusted brands. Now you've got Aistė and gin. Yeah, no, I wonder why. Pandemic has brought out the gin in a lot of people. You've got a lot of trusted brands that have now increased their year-to-year trust index. Now, I thought, well, Aistė is a prime example. So let's start with the top brand and have a look at what they are doing right to become a trusted brand. So yes, I'm a LinkedIn enthusiast. Something that I believe works in any situation, whether you're looking for a job or trying to do employee branding or advocacy or talent management or bringing in people. LinkedIn is the space. So I went into LinkedIn and I saw that they have 146,000 followers, but they are about people. They're not, Aistė is a technology brand, but they're bringing in the people aspect continuously in their content. So I took some snips. You guys can, you're welcome to go and have a look at their LinkedIn profile, follow them and kind of get some fantastic ideas. But they talk about the life and the careers and the story about who they are. They talk about the diverse team. They talk about how they're adding value into their communities. And case in point is this video.
Everybody loves to go home where it's like a clean, nice place, your safety area. So if you think of a bigger scope, this is the Earth.
We are really close to the point of no return for climate change. We have to take action. We can't let it happen.
It's important that we be good stewards of the environment. Many of the initiatives that we have in place are in alignment with that philosophy.
I asked myself what I can do to make a difference. I launched a program to develop closed-loop production.
We start to think about the true value of packaging design. Our goal is using the existing packaging to do something else, to give it a second life.
We are offering our customers the possibility of ordering products by train instead of air. This gives them faster shipments with reduced CO2 emission.
Sustainability doesn't need to mean compromise, especially if you think creatively.
It's never too late to update our design thinking and method.
It needs to include sustainable material, repairability, upgradability, and recyclability. One thing we think is also important is visual identity. We can be a leader to create this demand for green solutions.
Because change has to start somewhere. We know some changes may seem small, but if you repeat them a million times, the change will be significant.
Okay. So that one gives you a bit of an idea that they're talking about making change. They have their employees part of the process. They have their employees part of the video and bring them in to be able to elevate the brand. It's not just a previous company I worked for when I was in the corporate space. They would utilize their own employees and do shoots to be able to have content for and pictures for their branding, not stock images and those kinds of things. They actually utilize their own employees. Yes, they got to model and they got to dress up and get makeups for that session, whoever was invited to those sessions, but it made it a fun brand in terms of incorporating the people aspect into the business. And I think that's where we really do need to make sure that we're including our employees in the content and sharing our brand story. So I put this in because a lot of people I have spoken to, even over the last 2 years, haven't actually Googled themselves or their brand. So what comes up when you Google yourself? So you Google yourself and you put the inverted commas in and see what comes up. Make sure that there's nothing dodgy. I was in an executive presentation a couple of years back, and we had people from all over Africa. So I'm from South Africa, all over Africa. And I asked the question, have you Googled yourself? And this executive from this great milling brand here in South Africa actually said, oh, wow, I've just Googled myself and there's an inappropriate tweet that should not be showing. So you don't know until you've actually decided to done that search, and you start realizing that the content you might have tweeted about, commented on, is actually showing up when people are Googling you and trying to find out more about your brand and about the people that they will be working with. So teach your team to be able to go through that process and curate their own content, and if they're proud of the content. So you're teaching them the values of putting out valuable content. Did you know socially engaged companies are 58% more likely to attract top talent? That's true. So if you're really, really wanting to bring in your top talent and retain and that your employees are your biggest fans, you need to be able to allow them and educate them and train them up in terms of what can they do, what don't they do, and engage them into a social presence and give them the right content to be able to share. Did you know content shared by employees receives 2 times more engagement than the same content shared by the companies? Why? People deal with people. LinkedIn is set up in such a way that you can't even message the company page. So Facebook, you can message a company page, you can tweet a company page on Twitter, but within LinkedIn, it's about the people. It's about enabling your people to share the content so that they can then elevate your brand. I gave some thoughts about whether I should be utilizing some of the global headlines in terms of what's out there. But there are 7.83 billion people in the world, and 4 billion of them, 4.6 billion of them are on the internet, and 4.2 billion of them are on social media. They are reading and looking at your brand. What are you saying? Daily time spent on average. So this is this is Hootsuite. This is April 2021 stats that was released. 6 hours on the internet. Okay. Little secret, South Africa is sitting on about 10 hours as an average on the internet. Always fascinated by that. And social media time is about 2.5 hours. Here in South Africa, it's 3.5. We spend a lot of time looking at some things that shouldn't be looked at. But just in terms of misinformation and, distracting ourselves. But in terms of the opportunity to reach so many potential new talent that can come into your organization, you should be utilizing the internet a lot more effectively. So reasons for using the internet is finding information, staying in touch, keeping up to date with news and events, and so it goes down. But the primary channels for brand research is search engines, social networks, and consumer reviews, and product and brand websites, and so it goes down. Your social networks are second in that queue. Your search engines, what is that information? So if I do the inverted commas and say ladybugs, my brand, I get lots of information. Yes, I even get, the cartoon ladybugs. But from a content perspective, I want to make sure that the content that people are seeing when they're searching YouTube for ladybugs, when they're searching anywhere for ladybugs, that the content is engaging, that the content shows that my employees are wanting to be part of this brand. But that's exactly what you're wanting to do. So did you know 82% of buyers viewed at least 5% of your content from the winning vendor? You must remember that at the bottom line, you have your sales team. Whether you're employing the sales team and you're recruiting their top salespeople, whether you're having to manage their performance from an HR perspective, you still need to be able to enable them. So marketing, sales, HR, all these silos should stop being silos, and we should start working together and putting the content. So I'm referring back to Aistė. If you look at their content, you will see that the content covers a number of aspects. The content covers the people aspect, the computer aspect, the technology, what's the upgrades look like. They cover a whole bunch of things, but you want to be part of that brand because the people look like they actually enjoy working there. Did you know that 68% of your customers feel more positive about a brand after consuming content? So it's not just customers, but it's also your talent that you are trying to recruit. Remember, they're going to do their research before the interview. Well, they should be anyway. But when they're doing that research, what are they finding? And are they finding great content and positive content, or are there negative reviews? So I'm going to go through a 9-step checklist to help you build your employee advocacy program. The first one is to set clear goals. You have to sit with the teams that are involved, the executives, and decide, do you want to drive a new brand awareness in sales, new hires? What does that look like? And what is that target in terms of that content, so that you can be clear in the messaging when you're bringing in those brand advocates into your business? The brand advocates are your actual employees. You don't need an influencer, like an Instagram influencer or a TikTok influencer. I heard Ksenia and talking about TikTok, so I'm not sure. But you don't need those to actually elevate your brand to the next level. And you kick off strong. So enlist your most socially active employees. That's where you start, because they're comfortable with sharing the content. They're comfortable with the social networks. And then you train them up to become the program ambassadors, not just sharing random content and for what, but sharing content that is relevant into the objectives and the goals that you've set in the beginning. Have a policy. So make sure that you have a social media policy if you don't by now. Most organizations do have, and if you're a small organization, make sure that you do set up some sort of a policy. It helps to gauge and take action when necessary if there's inappropriate content being shared. Teach the how and the why. So the teaching part is typically where you bring in a consultant, and they educate and train you and your employees how to work together to elevate the content, how to organically step up your branding into that space, that people come to the HR and say, hey, I'm looking for a position. I'm wanting to move from X to Y. Do you have any positions available? Please take a look at my profile. You don't know what's going to get that person into the next level. We have to look at it from a holistic perspective and make sure that it's always there. Identify your team. So you tap there's a core team that will come up with fantastic ideas, that will want to do videos, about adding value and content and tip series and those kinds of things. And make sure that it's across all the different functions within your business. So if you've got different silos, big organizations, when I was in corporate as well, we had, I think, 12 different business units. Make sure that you've got people representing from all the different business units, so that you're not dependent only on marketing for content, but there's a collaborative effort in terms of broadcasting that information. Remind employees. So there's push notifications on LinkedIn that you can say, employees have a look, but there's also, you can send out a weekly email saying, these are the following posts that have gone out. Please engage when you get a moment, and you give them the links. What you want to do is create a cadence where people can understand that at least once a week, or at least every second day, or however the goals are, you are getting them to engage with the content. Create incentives. So LinkedIn is the only platform that has a measurable social interaction portal. It's called the Social Selling Index. I can drop the link into the comments after the session. But from a social sales index, it tells you out of 100, where are you sitting? What do you need to do? Do you need to connect with people? It actually monitors, are you talking to people? Are you sharing content? And that way you can create an incentive and say the top 3 sales SSI scores, or most improved, because some people start on different levels, so maybe most improved. And we can come up with that together if we're doing the training for you guys. But from that perspective, you're wanting to make sure that the information is out there, but that they can track and measure the different aspects, and are they actually winning? So, I mean, if I get a voucher from Amazon for $500, I'm going to make sure that I work hard for that month. And that $500 could have been part of your sponsored content budget. But now you don't have to sponsor content. You've got your employees promoting your content for itself. This is a way you're going to attract the right people, and plus get brand presence out there. So you track the metrics, and we've just spoken about how you track that, and optimize. So take a look, get the marketing department and the different teams to take a look at the analytics in the back end and see what's working, what's not working. Have a look at that, and then optimize it in such a way that you're actually adding value. I think it's time that human resources, sales, and marketing start working together and not in silos. So if we have any questions, I will be available. So mine's short, sharp, and sweet. If you have any questions, you're welcome to pop us a message. Hello, Mark, and everybody else that's joined us recently. If you have any questions, make sure that you pop us that question. We will be taking a Q&A session a little bit later. And we have our next speaker. So I just need to go in. Okay. Finding. There she is. Hello. How are you, Shilpi?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Shilpi,
the content on branding was really good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that it actually added value, because you're in HR and analytics and, part of talent acquisition. So I'm glad that you actually found it insightful.
Yes, it was.
Awesome. Shilpi has around 10 years experience in the talent partnering. So she comes with a lot of information. She works on projects in the talent acquisition space and benchmark practices. She's helped organizations increase their talent and density by continually upgrading their hiring methods and platforms. So she's more proactive than reactive. And I think from that perspective, what we're wanting to do is make sure that she comes in this is the bonus. She's coming in from a games environment. So it's technology and the proverbial geek environment where those developers are sitting there. So I'd love to hear what she's going to be saying to us now, more about the transformation of the tech hiring and the pandemic, and how it's reforming recruiting and changing those expectations of the job seekers. Where are you coming from today, Shilpi?
So I'm from India. It's Bangalore as a city.
Awesome. What time is it there?
So it is 1:40 here at present, 1:40 afternoon.
Fantastic. Have you got your presentation ready?
Yes, I do have. I'll just quickly share it.
Perfect.
And begin.
There you go. And then what we'll do is I'm going to hand over to Shilpi, and Shilpi is going to then take us through her topic, and I'm going to be taking notes.
Thanks, Noleen. Thank you. So hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as per the time zones that you are in. So today, as Noleen introduced me, that I'm going to talk about basically the transformation that the pandemic has brought on recruiting and job seekers' expectations. And this is what the recruiters and the recruitment industry is actually trying to adapt to. So 2020 was a year in history which actually didn't play by any rules, and it will have an everlasting impact on the world. It's going to be here, it's going to stay, it's going to change our world in subtle but surely powerful ways. And for all of us in the tech hiring world, the year has been full of learnings. There was a time for us to go back, take a step back, audit our processes, figure out what was working in the past, what was not, and then how the future is going to change. There was less hiring, there were lesser people looking out for jobs as well. So this was all the time that we could spend and think on all these. So while almost all organizations had their digital roadmaps drawn pre-pandemic, the pandemic actually accelerated the digital adoption. So industries like pharma, e-commerce, banks are amongst the top demanded industries. So with everything going online, banks, all medical consultations online, we are even buying medicines online, everything, the shopping has gone online. So there's a constant need to make these offerings better and secure. Hence, it brings with it the need for filling up the skill gap. And also, we as recruiters, we have to ensure that it's our responsibility as recruiters to go that extra mile to understand the struggle of the people who have faced economic fallout, people who have been displaced in their career, understand their struggles and their needs, and be more human. So before I begin to dive deep into the details of the changes, there are a few questions that I just wanted to put across, wherein the recruiters here can ponder a bit on that. Because in this era, it's not only recruiters who will survive, the only recruiters that will survive are who are able to adapt, who are able to partner with the business. So if you see at present, even the job titles have been modified and changed. It's more about talent acquisition partners I have seen of late recently. So businesses are looking at talent acquisition as to partnering with them. We should think upon some of the questions like, what is the value add that we bring as recruiters in this era? Are we just working on some keywords, resumes, scheduling? Or can we help frame or reframe the benefit offerings to the company, or at least help create a framework? Can we design a prototype of an ATS, or at least get our current ATS is our applicant tracking systems, aligned with the company's hiring needs? Because that will require a lot of testing and feedbacks to go to the technical teams. Are we capable to build a branding page for our company, or at least create a prototype or get the right people to work on it by giving the right insights? Can we create campaigns, hiring campaigns? Can we create the right job descriptions, or are we still relying upon the technical panels to do that end to end? Are we doing regular compensation benchmarkings to be able to pay the right comp range to our talent? So these are some of the questions that we should ponder on. If we are not doing or doing it bits and pieces, there may be many more ways that you can innovate and add on to these. So in this presentation, there'll be a few things that we'll cover. First thing is understanding what is the expectation from recruiters today. Some important terminologies that the pandemic has brought about. Knowing the changes, and through knowing them, we will be able to adapt and come through those changes. So these are the few things that we are going to cover. Coming to the role of recruiter, what is the expectation from recruiters today? So the role has evolved today beyond limits. And today the recruiter's role is not just limited to searching resumes using keywords, booleans, X-ray, peel-off, many more. But it is to sell the job, the culture, the company, and benefits to the candidates whom we are talking to. And to survive long in this industry, we have to innovate. We have come a long way from newspaper job ads to consulting firms working on hiring for organizations. And today, the era of social, LinkedIn being one of the biggest platforms. And furthermore, hiring through specific platforms like Stack Overflow, GitHub, Behance, Dribble, where the actual talent density is. So these are the things that we should explore. Let's dive deep and understand how the pandemic has changed the recruiting world and the ways to master these changes. And this has all started from the post-pandemic, that is once 2020 ended. And I'll move on to the next slide to talk about a few of the changes a bit in detail. But before that, let's understand some important terminologies. So if you guys would have heard, I'm sure some of you would already know it, the Great Resignation as a terminology. And its ripple effect, which is the turnover contagion. So what is it actually? So this word was coined by Professor Anthony Klotz, and he believes that the rise of hybrid and remote work helped cause this phenomena. And according to him, it's how we spend our time before pandemic may not be how we want to spend our time after. Also, according to a Harvard Business article, in the US alone, there were 4 million people who have quit their jobs just in April 2021. And this is one of the biggest spike on record. And according to a survey by Microsoft, around 31% global workers are considering leaving their current employers this year. So the Great Resignation also leads to the turnover contagion. It's a domino effect of one resignation, which means that people in structurally equivalent roles are often influenced by each other. While this can be a much bigger discussion for the HR fraternity, but in the interest of time, let's focus on how these affect the recruiting strategies to change. So hiring in the IT sector has increased month on month, and at present it is around 150 to 200% this year compared to the last year. So there's a huge demand for IT professionals with experience in AI, SaaS, gaming, edtech, automation, machine learning, cybersecurity. And just to give you some quick fact about a report which has been published by CNBC, in India alone, at present, there are around 2.8 lakh jobs open, that is 0.28 million open jobs, out of which 82% of the jobs are technical, are tech, mostly in engineering. So it's a golden time for employees with the right skills, but it also brings along a lot of challenges. So now the engineers are expecting between 50 to 80% as a hike when they change a job. And in some niche roles, the expectations have gone up to around 120%, which is like huge. So moving on, what are these changes? I have put across some of the prominent ones. There might surely be more. So please feel free to comment, to add on to these. And I'm going to discuss some of the major ones which are affecting the industry post the pandemic. The first one being a big shift, that is skill-based hiring is going to dominate the tech recruiting. So according to a survey, Fortune 500 survey, 59% of the CEOs enacted hiring freezes during the pandemic. But in 2021, around 60 to 70% of the organizations are already at pre-COVID hiring levels. But with work from home still being the norm, tech recruitment is expected to lean more towards geography and specific hiring, and ensuring that skills and not resumes become the most important criteria, which is a very good growth here. Understanding we are reducing the biases by looking at the resumes, probably the degrees, and the skills mentioned are not the only one way that we have to judge or understand a candidate. There has to be much more. Test the skills. So now we move on to the technical assessments. So technical assessments tools have become the go-to. So earlier, when we used to have on-site interviews, they were whiteboard assessments. And at present, with everything going online, there's a need for recruiters to use online assessment tools. This will not only save their time, but also help remove biases while assessments. Next is high focus on candidate experience. So now this is my personal favorite, and it's very, very important to focus on the experience, get feedbacks, and improve upon those. The last year was more driven by employers due to the job availability scenario. And now it's a highly candidate driven market. So the demand for skills versus availability is low. And hence, recruiters and hiring managers are more cognizant of candidate experience during the remote interviews. Hence, automating some of these assessments, having fewer interviews, and reducing the gap between interviews and feedback, having good communication with the candidates, it's going to be a high priority. There's going to be a very high emphasis on the revamped EVPs. So recruiters would have to be more aware of candidate interests and will have to make efforts to incorporate these into their revamped EVPs. What are EVPs? EVPs are nothing but employee value propositions. So we have to ensure that we revamp them and communicate them as well over different platforms wherever the candidates we are approaching or reaching out to. Benefits like flexi work and health insurance have been added, and along with that, increased opportunities for learning and development. So candidates are now looking at more perks and benefits like medical consultation coverage, mental and physical health benefits, stock options to be added to their compensation packages. Diversity hiring will stay in the spotlight. Yes. So tech hiring is famously riddled with biases. And in India, there's a study which was done, and according to that, the percentage of women studying to become engineers has gone up. But the statistics are really low when it comes to the critical roles where women are actually employed. So more women are employed as software testers here than in core coding jobs. But there is a heartening shift amongst tech recruiters now to challenge these biases, which is good news. So the next is internal recruitment will be in trend. Yes, IJPs, your internal job posting, internal recruitment, hiring your own internal employees is one of the best ways to fill your vacant positions. You close your job quickly, you don't have to worry about the culture fit, and it's cost effective as well. This is one of the ways to retain your employees as well. Remote hiring is here to stay, and hiring for soft skills is as important as technical skills. Yes, so with remote hiring going to continue, we have to hire candidates now with some soft skills which are going to be very important. Now, again, if I have to say, technical skills can still be taught, but there are some soft skills which are really important. So at present, there are some of the soft skills which we will have to add on probably to our list of assessments when we are doing over the interviews. Candidates have to be more self-reliant. This will help prevent the burnout and turnover down the road. Communication is something very important. The creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence would be some of these to be added in the list where we should add them over our interview processes to test the candidates. Contingent hiring to increase. Yes, so with all the COVID scenario and work from home and hybrid workforce being in place, there's more of contractual hiring, contingent hirings that the companies are going forward for. There are less liabilities that the company will have to focus on, while they can hire somebody from anywhere. And there are a lot of projects which are coming up due to the upsurge in the demand of the product suddenly, and the companies are not sure if that would continue. So for those short-term projects, they are preferring to hire contractors or contingent workforce. So these are some of the changes that the pandemic has brought about. Moving on to some of the strategies that we can adopt to, or some of the ways that we can overcome these challenges. So the first one being aligning the recruiters with the hiring strategy, which is something really important. Recruiters need to understand both the tactical skills which are needed for the position, plus the strategy behind filling that role. It's difficult to find the right person for the position when you don't know actually what impact that role is going to create on the product and where the hiring manager hopes to take that employee in the future. So only with partnering with the business very closely, the recruiter is going to understand this. Revisiting our outdated hiring processes. So it's a good time now to clean up and streamline the hiring processes, audit our own hiring processes, find places where we can streamline them, reducing interview rounds, starting with assessments to rule out the wrong candidates are some of these. And processes small changes like these can increase the efficiency while also decrease the workload of the recruiters. Hiring and developing internal talent. So upskilling your own internal talent, hiring internally, giving them lateral growth will be one of the key controls to attrition and to fill some of the critical roles. Finding talent with right skills. So for this, in this scenario where it's very difficult to fill positions, to find the right talent, the right skills, if you are not able to find a candidate with your ideal skill set, I would recommend rather to consider a candidate with a go-getter attitude who are ready to be challenged and look for training programs and opportunities that will prepare them for the tasks required for the position. Probably we can search for in-house mentors and give them training opportunities to help them speed up. And employers would have to be willing to cross-train and teach the right candidates. It's easier to teach technical skills than soft skills. So repelling the wrong candidates. Yes. So recruiters, we as recruiters, we wantingly or unwantingly, we spend a lot of time going through applicants or applications which aren't qualified. And this really pulls away the valuable time away from the candidates who are good fit for the position. So what to do about it? We can deploy some knockout questions earlier during our assessments to verify the necessary skills at the beginning itself. And second, what we can do is write the correct job descriptions. Be authentic, be truthful in writing the job description. That's what will actually garner the attention of the right candidates. Integrating automation with oversight. Yes. So with the pandemic setting in, and most of the organizations actually were in process or had incorporated automation, but it's not very common in the recruitment fraternity where people are still used to the old ways. But with the digitization coming in, the adoption became very fast. While automation saves, and this automation technology saves our time, but an over-reliance on technology can also lead to more problems or challenges because automation is again limited by its programming. So if we program our ATS to favor some candidates with college degree, for example, we might miss out on some really amazing ones and qualified talent. Surveys to know the feedback and the experience. It's very important, a two-way process. So candidate experience surveys, which are the net promoter surveys, that's will your candidate talk about you positively? Will they recommend you? Hiring manager satisfaction surveys. Are they satisfied with the process, with the hiring process? Employee net promoter scores. All these will help you understand what's going well and what needs to be improved. And then working backwards to make the process efficient. So this is going to be really, really important, especially in today's era. Ensuring the human touch candidate experience. So though technology continues to play a critical role in recruiting, but we should not let the human touch get lost in the code. Candidate experience is still the backbone of our hiring processes, no matter how you're hiring or what tools you're using. And candidates don't care about the technology stack as much as they care about being engaged and respected in the loop. So one of the fundamentals of a good candidate experience is communication. So an ATS will surely help you centralize communication through the tool, and the recruiters can stay in touch with candidates and provide timely updates through messages, etc. So keeping candidates informed will show it shows to them that you respect their time and job seeking journey. Take advantage of technology to solve these recruiting challenges and treat candidates like individual people they are and not just another application, I'd say. Branding. So yes, the previous presentation was covered really well, the points, the do's and the don'ts of branding. So here I'm going to very quickly cover this because it's very, very important, at least starting this year. The recruiter's presence on the pages, on like LinkedIn, your presence on other platforms like Stack Overflow, GitHub, Behance, advertising your companies and benefits and work culture there. It's going to be very important to attract the right talent. Validating resume skills. So recruiters shouldn't only rely on resumes. Validating the right skills to find the best fit will always increase credibility with the hiring managers and help hire the right talent. How would you validate? So there's always places after having a resume from a candidate, we can always go back and check on LinkedIn what have been their activities, what the person is doing actually, what are the groups the person is in. Probably Stack Overflow and GitHub gives you a very good rating and ranking for a lot of people. They would have participated in a lot of contests. So all those will help you validate if we should actually proceed or put this person further in our interview process, which will again save a lot of time for everybody. So I just prepared a very short brief of some of the roles which are trending or which are in high demand at present. And again, let me tell you this, these will keep on changing with the uncertainty that we are in. But the ones that I mentioned here, basically engineering, full stack engineers, front-end engineers, DevOps, data engineers, back-end developers, user experience, product management, and product analytics, data science. For gaming, a lot of Unity and Unreal developers and game designers. So these are amongst the top, which eat around 70 to 80% of the entire job postings. Again, we can see a lot of change coming in within the next few months. There are much more roles which are there, much niche ones as well, which have come up with the type of demand that we are seeing in this digitized world or in this work from home scenario situation where people have different interests now. Some of the top technologies which are there in front end, like React, Angular, Vue, Unity, and Unreal. Some top backend development technologies like JavaScript, Python, PHP, and Java are in much demand. But even though after that, before I wrap up, before I finish this presentation, I would just want to put across one line that skills will keep evolving and one can always learn them, but basics and soft skills can't be ignored. So when we as recruiters are hiring for technical roles, we have to be sure that the person's basics are strong. Rest they can learn. React can move to sometimes if React is number one, Java can be number one again, or vice versa. Just taking an example that can be learned or picked up. But we should always test them on their basics like algorithms, data structures, and for analytics, maths, or stats is something very important and similar. So we should always look at those skills and hire for those rather than the current prevalent technologies. Those can always be trained. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation. Please put across your questions in the chat box. We will be having a Q&A session, and I'll try to answer those for you. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn or email me at the email ID which is mentioned.
Awesome. Well done. I think it's such an important information that you've actually shared with us, because in today's stage, what's relevant today was not relevant 2 years ago, pre-pandemic. We've all been talking around the world about the fourth industrial revolution, and then the pandemic hit, and so there you go, we're in it. We do have a question that Yash actually asked, and he wanted to know if he should pursue an MIM in HR, because we do have a minute or two to spare.
Okay, so if you could, if I can get a little more clarity on that question.
Okay, Yash, so MIM, just ask if you can elaborate on what MIM in HR is, elaborate a little bit more, and then we'll answer that in the Q&A session after our next speaker. Well done. I think, I can see that all the speakers, including myself right at the beginning, we're all nervous. This is a huge opportunity to share information with people like ourselves. So connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us, whatever social media platform you have, to just kind of, collaborate further. Thank you, Travis. I do see the question. There is a question that we will be answering that answers that as well in the Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like, so thank you very much, Shilpi. It's been very informative. I look forward to hearing more from you and collaborating in the future.
Sure, Noleen. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. So I first have to ask her, can you hear me?
Hi there.
Can you hear me? No. Okay. So we do have a technical glitch. So then I turn off my video, and now we can actually,
yes,
hear us.
I can hear you now, Noleen. Hi there.
Awesome. Welcome, Aistė. It's great to have you. We do have we've been testing this technology for a couple weeks, and the only way to actually have Aistė hearing the conversation is if I put off my video. So
I can do only one job. I can listen or I can see. So my computer acts like in a better way. So sorry for that.
Awesome.
It's trouble from my side, but it's very interesting troubles.
It's one of those things. So Aistė is a regional manager at an international organization, Bentley Systems, 8 years experience in HR. And one of the things I did was I connected with her on LinkedIn earlier in the week and asked her, during the onset of the pandemic, did you do anything for the first time? So, lots of people have their firsts. And this was the response. So she said she read some really weird advice from one speaker. I do not give a choice for myself if I would like to do something or not. So the thought was that there's what's all the nonsense that we choose to run or choose not to run, take up the opportunity. You actually just set a routine. So giving up that opportunity to choose just to go and do it. Start reading every day, at least 10 pages per evening without choosing if I would like to do it or not. And understand that choice not always helps us. And then also understand that she needed physical separation from her personal work and life. So avoiding to visit the room that she works from during the non-working hours. So welcome to the stage, Aistė. Do you have your presentation ready?
Of course I do. Let me share my screen. And just help me to understand if you can see that. 1 second. So here it goes. I think I need to make it bigger view. Let me know now
Yes.
if you can see
Yes.
that clearly. Okay.
Yes, it's very clear. So onboarding and offboarding remotely, what did we learn? So here's Aistė with her presentation.
Okay, so hi again to everybody. It's really my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for that opportunity to speak about two of the most interesting employee lifecycle parts for me. It's onboarding and offboarding. I don't know why, but these two parts is like a key to me. So I'm happy to share my own discoveries. But first of all, let's meet. So my name is Aistė, and it's very local name. No other countries has that one. And people usually ask me, so how to pronounce your name? And I'm saying that you can pronounce like iced tea. And that story is also always funny at Starbucks. Then they say, oh, there is one black coffee for iced tea. Haha. But it's easy to remember. So if you want to call me somehow, you can call me iced tea. And I'm working at Bentley Systems for almost 8 months. So I just started during quarantine, during lockdown, and Bentley Systems are we are producing software. We are not. We don't have anything in common with cars manufacture. We are doing great job. We are doing great job. We just not together. So we are with our software. We are helping advancing infrastructure for engineers by building buildings, roads, rails, and any infrastructure object. But why I'm here and why you should listen to me. During quarantine, during pandemic and lockdown, I changed a job. Of course, I don't need medal for that. Many people did it. But when you are HR, you look on that change from many perspectives, not just as newcomer, but also as a person who will become responsible for that process. So I looked very closely how organizations are doing and how we can improve or just keep on that level. And I want to share my own tips and tricks, 10 steps, and very, very practical things. So I don't want to give you a speech, just a speech that you would listen, but think about that as a checklist, as a tool you can start doing. And if after that, my presentation, you will think that, oh, I didn't hear anything else new, so everything was known, what she was talking. So you are doing really great job in your organization. So congrats and celebrate your organization that you are doing very, very well. And if you will hear at least one thing, you can start implement from tomorrow or from next Monday. Always tomorrow is better than next Monday. So your organization will be a little bit better in around the globe. So please implement if you find something what could work in your organization. So 10 steps about onboarding, 10 steps about onboarding, easy as that. And we are and I will say goodbye. So the first step is clarify ownership of every task. We have divided 4 groups on onboarding process who are involved. It's direct manager, is HR department, senior leadership team, and body. So 4 groups who are responsible for onboarding of each person. And during remote work, during quarantine, we sit and thought what is changed and what is not changed, and what is ownership of each and every tasks are to everybody. So when everybody knows their exact roles, it's easy to play like an orchestra, so you know what you have to do. And for newcomer, it looks very smooth process. So don't forget to review and agree. It's simple as that. It goes like without saying, but from my experience in many organizations, I saw that part sometimes is missing, and everybody looks like they know what we should do, but on another hand, nobody is agreed to the end. So after you agree, and you can ensure the similar experience to people who are working remotely and people who are working office-based or hybrid model. So by agreeing on ownership, you can ensure similar experience, which is very, very important part. Another step is communication. My favorite word. I'm not working in internal or external communication, and I never worked, but as an HR manager, I think is a key to successful organization. So on onboarding process, as I mentioned, agree on your organizational team of onboarding, what you are doing. So the first communication. The second communication to newcomer. After job offer is accepted, many people, they got a bit lost, so what I should do next and so on. And even when I was listening to previous speakers, they mentioned a lot about offering a job to somebody they never saw in person, and it's getting normal. So from my own experience, when you are going through interview remotely, you feel that it's something not real, because you are joining interviews, you are joining and talking with people, but it's pretty hard to realize that it's happening for real. So communication with newcomer on onboarding process after job offer is accepted is very important to keep that real and to help that newcomer understand that he is really joining amazing your organization. You can schedule one-to-ones with a manager before the first day just to do like 10-15 minutes check-in, and it will help, and I believe me, newcomer will be appreciated. Newcomer will appreciate attention you gave. And the second part of and the first part of communication is internally in your organization. Do not forget to introduce that newcomer, not just name and surname. Of course, that is important, and role also, but you can ask to send out a video for that newcomer. And there is a story when I joined Bentley, my manager asked to send a video about myself, whatever I want to talk about. And I said that I like gardening and so on. And it was a great icebreaker with other colleagues when I was talking. They said, oh, how your roses are blooming. Are you growing tomatoes or whatever? So you can, with communication, with sending in emails and a little bit more personal information, newcomer would like to share, of course, with others. You can help to have talking points within an organization, and it creates sense of belonging. So the third step, prepare for the first day of that newcomer. And especially when we're talking about onboarding, I have a very short and quick story about one organization. One of my actually close friend, he changed a job during like remotely, and on his first day, he didn't get a laptop. It was some technical problem. It happens, you know. But what he said to me, he said, I think that they don't need me. It's my first day and I don't have anything to do. And I just need to wait. So I feel like I'm wasting years and my time and money. Of course, we fixed that. The next day he got it, but the first day, it's like the first impression. It's very hard to change. He's telling that story a few times later, so it means that it was important. So just check if a colleague is joining on the office or remotely, and don't forget a similar experience. If you are giving welcome baskets or welcome gifts at the office, don't forget to send at home, and vice versa. So just to make sure that everything is prepared. And for the very, very first day, I would advise to make a list of what newcomers should do. As I mentioned about check-ins before start like actual first day, manager can share the first day plan newcomer. Don't make that too crowded and too intense, because the first day is overwhelming as such. But don't forget to add what newcomer must do, like fire safety instruction or whatever is mandatory in each country, and nice things like lunch with team if it's possible, but it's always possible even remotely. So just create a space and agenda for very first day. Of course, later on you can move on and it starts going on own piece, but the first day agenda helps people to understand what we have to do and not get lost too much. And another thing that helps not to be lost too much is to have a buddy, and it's a person on similar position. It can be, of course, in different one in our organization, similar position. So the person you can ask all questions, even you think they are silly. You can like get know more organization and more history, or like why was done something, and to have another contact except your direct manager. Even that direct manager is an amazing person. But to have a buddy is like to have a friend. It really, it's like an older brother for me. So that person who became a buddy, he has or she has to step up a bit and to welcome a newcomer. And for newcomer, you can have a contact and create a sense of belonging in organization by creating a contact. Regular check-ins and regular meeting with a manager helps to understand and help for me to understand when I can ask my 1,000 questions I got during a week. So I know that I have to wait until Monday, if the question can wait, of course. Then I can ask everything. For other organization, it can be different rules. So just agree on that. Some manager, they have open door policy, so ask whatever you need and just ping me. Another managers in an organization likes more structured way, but okay, from 9 till 11, I have less meeting, please ping me on that time. Manager, newcomer and manager with organization and how you would like to proceed. It looks very simple thing, but if you say that you can ping me anytime on Teams you need me, if that is valid for your organization, it helps to newcomers to understand and like gives a green light to do that. Even he would do otherwise, but that sentence just really helps. Agree on goals with newcomer, so that is for manager, but HR can help by creating like guidelines. What goes for the first, 3 months or half a year should be that newcomer when he's completely lost and don't know what and doesn't know what he has to do, that he would have like a direction here. Involve your upper management, your senior leadership team, because it's really helpful to have somebody who can share wider perspective, who can show attention, and it gives a lot of value for that newcomer to see and to like just meet, to just talk with upper manager. Maybe we are not working on a daily basis, so like artificially created opportunity lets that person to be seen. and it gives a comfort for that. And the last thing, don't forget your new joiner, because I saw many organizations that after very, very smooth first week, the schedule things and everything, newcomers start getting lost. So you can agree on a process who is responsible for check-ins after a month or after 2 months or after 3 months. Maybe you can send out just a quick survey with 3 questions. How are you feeling today? And just check and leave, because don't forget that you are as organization on trial period also, and not just that person who joined. So make sure that person is connected, especially when we are thinking about a remote work or a hybrid model. Okay, you see, onboarding was very easy, just 10 steps. You can go ahead and 10 steps about onboarding, and we are ready to go and do better. So talking about onboarding, it's like first impression, and everybody of us, I think, agree that it's very hard to change the first impression. You have to work a lot to change the first impression. But for the organization, I would say that it's even harder to change the last impression, and how organizations set it's pretty hard to change. And just 29% of organization according Aberdeen Group has clear exit process. So let's go through that. Maybe you can implement something here. So talking about that is also always communication. So I will talk mostly about voluntary separations, because involuntary separations is always unique story. So not asking, oh, why are you leaving? But try to really understand why and if you can do something. And if you can do something, you need to understand you can retain talent or you cannot retain talent. And that is the question you have to answer. Because for some, even voluntary separation, you don't want to retain that talent and invest time and energy to that. You want to retain the talent. Another question you need to answer to yourself, can you retain the talent? Is it possible? Yeah, so if you can retain a talent, you can do everything, and other slides are not relevant anymore, because you will retain. And if you can't retain the talent, so make that separation process as smooth, as easy, as good as it could be, that person would consider to come back. And here is communication again. So then you know that person is leaving and you unfortunately cannot do or don't want to do anything else. Be the first and create a process like team would know the first, like smaller team that person is working, to create an opportunity to that person to say that he or she is leaving. Communicate to wider organization also. Just give an opportunity not to create that, oh, one day that person was working and another day we don't know where he is, oh, he's not working, but communicate clearly and have high standards of transparency in your organization. Do exit interviews. I believe that everybody is doing exit interviews at least on a level, where are you leaving and why are you leaving? But structured way, it's much better, trust me, and at least try by yourself. You can use Microsoft Forms, you can use Google Forms, whatever works for you. But in structured interview, you can collect data and do the most amazing thing. It is analyze that data and see why people are leaving, what you can do for that particular person, and to avoid similar mistakes with others. So by analyzing your data, you have a unique ability to make conclusions and make your organization a bit better. As I mentioned, it really helps to have like a survey or even Excel form, similar question. Of course, don't ask survey, but just talking points, but you could collect similar data from. When colleague is leaving, don't forget to show a gratitude. He or she spends amount of time by creating and advancing your project, your product, your organization. Don't forget that just because he or she is leaving, and say thanks, appreciate what is done. And that person, believe me, he won't forget any time. He will remember, I wanted to say. Leave a door open, and here my advice is to think about alumni club. Maybe you can create a club for person who left, and to share experience, to share your employer branding. Maybe we can recommend some talents from their surroundings. So just keep in touch with people who left. I know it's hard to do, and it's for many very international organizations, it's impossible to collect everybody, but just leave an open door and think about how you can do that. The most simple way, say a sentence, you can ping me on LinkedIn if you would like to come back. And talking about coming back, think what you would, how that person could announce that he would like to come back. So as I said, maybe a simple question as ping me on LinkedIn, but maybe what I did in my previous organization, I was working in retail, and we had a huge turnover for cashiers, sales assistants, and so on. I know it's not relevant to IT field, but what we did in that time, we gave physical ticket to come back. So we printed ticket to come back, that you can come back to the organization on the same condition you left, because one of salary part was because of seniority. So we are not starting to recalculate your seniority from zero. So you can come back. So it was useful for them. You can think what your organization can suggest, but when we gave ticket to come back, people use that actually, even it looks like very simple and silly thing, because we knew that we are not something, we didn't do something bad to the organization, and we are entitled, we can say, hey, I want to join again, and be a boomerang. I think about 14% of each organization, like average, they have at least 14%, average 14% people who are boomerangs. So think how they can announce that people who left, they would like to come back. Oh, that one is mostly for HR, but managers can also do an impact. In some countries, it's very important to make exit paper very, very clean and clear and smooth, because we need proof of employment, for example, in Poland later on. So don't create any additional hard steps for that. So just try that document site would be even invisible, but everything would be in place. And the last thing, don't forget about those who are staying. I had a situation in one organization that people said, okay, I need to leave, but they would pay attention to me. And just after people announced that we are leaving, we start giving increases, promotions, and so on. And if you are working, so we are not doing anything. So just avoid that situation, and don't forget people who are staying. And that's it. I hope you find something, or if you didn't hear anything new, so you're doing very, very great in your organization, and next time you can present what you are doing in this conference. I think you can thank Ksenia on that. We didn't agree on it, but I think she don't mind. So I will stop sharing my slides, and if any instant questions or anything are here, just let me know.
Hey, Aistė, well done. I really like the idea of giving someone a ticket as part of their going away package to say, you can always come back. And the reason I specifically like that is because in my previous organization, I got termed a boomerang while I was in corporate because I didn't understand my value and my real passion in life yet. So I boomeranged, and they called me the boomeranger because I went back 5 times. Yes, like a battered
You was
wife.
very valuable.
But I think offering people that opportunity to leave that open door and say, pop me a message, connect on me on LinkedIn, and if you're ever looking in the market and you're looking to come back, know that the door's always welcome. Obviously, not to disruptive employees, but to employees that really did add value and you really are sad to lose. I really appreciate that kind of insight, especially me being a battered wife going back and forth.
Thanks.
We do have some specific questions before we go into the full panel Q&A that you might not be able to hear anything from. So here is a question. What are the practical tools for onboarding engineers?
I think I need another time for presentation to answer that broad question. I would start with a checklist, what you want to achieve, what you have it now, like to do an inventory for your process. So what are you doing now on onboarding process, what you would like to do, and just have a simple checklist, Excel checklist, what our steps are. But it doesn't matter, is it engineers, isn't another profession, is it remotely, is it on office premise or hybrid model. I think not to forget to introduce the person, to provide all accesses, to provide meetings, schedule meetings with manager, and go through that checklist, include into that checklist all that information, and just accordingly. So it's very simple answer on one hand, but it's very broad, and I know that it's hard to do on another hand. So I would start with Excel checklist. I think you can even Google if you don't have like particular minds. It will be a start, and later on you can adapt your organization.
Super. Next question is, what exactly do you think about the differences between the expectations of the engineers and then and now?
I assume that this was about onboarding and about remote work and office-based work.
Yeah,
so if
I'm
not,
assuming too.
if not just write what you thought, but talking about remote now and before. So it was funny actually. When I did my slides and I had my presentation in places, I thought, Aistė, you are not saying anything new, actually. It is very similar as it was before, because it's still employee on the center. The remote work and office premise work is just a condition and it's a background, but it's still important to ensure similar experience to colleagues despite the way we are working or joining your organization. And talking about expectations, I believe that the only one change, and even it's not maybe a change, just people start talking about that, but everything would be on place, as I talked about computers. So they expect that everything will be on place before. And the only one difference I can quickly think about, that it is that communication became more and more important, because when somebody is joining like lively, they know that you take care of them, because you are like, you can be touched by your hand and you can take care. So the only different expectation from engineers, but I would say any other profession also, that you would communicate more proactively and think about more templates, more steps before colleague is joining or on the first day, because it's a bit lonely to join remotely. So the only other expectation is to have more information than you had before.
Okay, awesome. The next question kind of goes into what you've also been talking about now. What is the best practice to onboard remotely?
I think to have a process and follow that and agree on regular checkup to review that process. But the best practice for us is to send everything and to prepare like week or a little bit more before that colleague know that he will get, he already has, he don't need to wait the last day. And another thing, I really like the practice we are doing to have emails or video calls with manager before the first day. So maybe 2 check-ins with a manager before first day. How are you doing? Do you have any question for the first checkup? And the second checkup is to go through the first day agenda together. So I don't know, a week before the first day, you can connect with manager and newcomer can connect with manager and go through agenda for the first day. And it really helps to have that calm inside that I know what will happen. So that practice I would recommend as a best one, like beside others, which is equally important. But that one was new for me and I really saw the value in that.
That's amazing. I really like that idea because sometimes you just get an email saying this is your agenda, but to meet with your manager, whoever you're reporting directly through to, before you even show up on your day one, whatever showing up means, I really like that idea.
Yeah, and even as you and even what you said about email. So I know that not every organization are doing at least email. So if you are not ready for one-to-ones and your manager says, "Oh no, I don't have time," or so just send an email with agenda before the first day. It also helps.
It also does help, yes.
Yeah.
What's the best way of turning departing employees into a loyal alumni?
I don't think that miracle happened in one night, actually. And if you were working and that colleague was not happy for a long time in your organization, it's pretty hard to turn him to loyal alumni. But I would say that the best you can do is to have smooth offboarding process and agree on and say goodbye on a nice note. So make a good impression that you really like that colleague, that you appreciate the work, show the gratitude, and that would help to have loyal alumni because it will be the last memories in that organization. And they will think, okay, maybe I can recommend something, maybe I can work with that. So took a lot of attention to your offboarding process and don't use the way that, oh, are you leaving? Okay, so then bye. So don't do that. And I think that will be a start for loyal alumni.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Aistė. I'm going to leave you on screen. And if you see something, you can answer maybe in the chat or something if there's a question. I'm going to ask all the speakers to turn on their videos, and I'm going to add you to the stream. Okay. And oh yes, I'm already there. Oh, hello. Oh yes, Noleen was turning. There you go. Okay, so just put the camera. Sorry, I'm in the dark now. Technology, right? When technology fails. So, okay, we have loads of questions. I'm going to add them, and you guys can just let me know who would like to answer if it's not specifically addressed to you. Shilpi, there is a couple of questions that it is addressed specifically to you. So, is it really okay to hire face-to-face interviews or without a face-to-face, sorry?
So to answer this, I would like to say that we are already doing that. From the past 1.5 years, we have seen success stories. It's been, I think, more than 1 million people have already been hired globally, and we are doing really well. So personally, I don't feel any challenge, but I understand where the question is coming from. Probably in the initial phase where on-site interviews were really important, because we feel that we'll be able to understand a lot of body language cues, etc., when we meet people. physically than hiring them remotely. But at present, technology has advanced a lot. Video interviews are there, and all the discussions, at least 3 to 4 rounds, do happen over the video. I think those are enough to understand a person actually and successfully hire them.
Awesome. And I think, we've also employed, I've employed, we're a small little agency, but I've employed someone during the pandemic without ever meeting them first. Obviously knew about them and had previous work done with them, but I'd never met them face to face until, after our lockdowns here in South Africa. And so we couldn't actually meet, but I needed that person. So, and she's a very good fit. So you don't know from that perspective. I think face to face, sometimes people could put on a nice little face,
yes,
put on the makeup. So I agree with you, definitely. Shilpi, the next question.
And Helene, hi, sorry. Yes. If I may add to that from our experience, I would say that 2 things, again, that can help on top to what Shilpi shared. We've all experienced it. If you could train our hiring managers a bit more around, the kind of questions to ask, be more situational around what's expected of the job, ask for a little bit more around what people have done as examples. One is that really helps you know the person a little bit deeper. And second is references. I think in this virtual world, if you can get the right references, talk to the previous managers and previous colleagues they've worked with, that really helps you get a good sense too and confidence in the hire you're making.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, the next question is how important do you see the role of remote testing and interviewing becoming now that developers will be working remotely and even in other regions and territories for technology firms?
So to answer this, yes, remote testing or assessments now are important, specifically when we are hiring for technology-based roles to understand the skill set, the level at which probably a company is looking at to add on. And there are various tools to use as per your preference. They can be developed in-house as well. So during the course of interviews, either your in-house interviewers could help prepare something, or if not, then you have specific assessments which have the right set of questions which can be asked from the candidate to understand their expertise level and accordingly choose to hire or not. So I believe that's going to be important. Earlier, it was whiteboard. Basically, they were used. Some questions were given, and during the course of interview, they had to scribble and write on a whiteboard or a piece of paper. The same thing has been just turned into online assessments, and I believe they are much secured as well, and you'll be able to save time by assessing a lot of candidates in a shorter period of time and reducing biases also while assessing. So, yes.
Awesome. Anybody else to add to that? No. Okay. Next question. So this is for anyone. If you are to choose between taking a professional development course and getting an HR certificate, which one would you choose?
I could probably take a stab at it and would request others to add. I think it really depends upon what your goal is, because what you end up taking is defined by what you're trying to achieve, what's the end outcome. If you're looking for something where you feel that a certification will give you that credential to apply and get you a step in, so yes, sometimes certification helps. Between a course and a certification, then you need to see what are the credits in there, what is the knowledge you're gaining, and that kind of become the decisive factor. Typically, people choose a certification to get the credential on the resume. Development courses are more short-term, so they are kind of an ongoing development and on the job, because I distinguish them as 2 to 3 days skill building, and then you have to practice more. Whereas certification is more prolonged and associated with universities, etc. So that could be more like going back to school. So depends what you want, how much time you have in hand, and your goal itself.
Yes. Okay. Then on that note, if you're looking at that, would you look at the certification as a recruiter and within HR? Would you be looking at the certification, or would you looking at the professional development course, just to put a different spin on it if you're looking at the resume?
Personally, and I'd ask Shilpi as well and Aistė as well to add, because all of us have a very different perspective and lens when we look at candidates. I usually look at the experience on the resume in terms of what people have done and that variety. The development and certification is an add-on that gives me the impression of that they have a learning aptitude. People are interested in investing themselves. So that gives me the confidence that, if I'm hiring someone, they'd be keen and have a growth mindset because they want to invest in themselves. In particular, I look at more at their experience and get curious about what role they have played, how have they performed in terms of the different activities they list on their resume.
Awesome. I like that.
I haven't heard anything what my colleagues told, but I would like to add something. So if you already said that, so sorry from my end, you will hear again. But the only thing I would advise is to think not about courses or certification. Of course, if it's matters to your country, let's do that. But I would advise to go on internship or mentoring program more, because you would get more real advices and more real practice. And also you create network. You will get know people who are working in that field, and they can help you with their advices and their experience even more than some professional courses. I'm not saying that it's not needed, but if you are choosing, I would say not to forget to get some real hands-on experience, better than just courses.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just to add on to this, as a recruiter, so when I see somebody's resume, I first see the practical experience that they have, probably, as Nidhi said, so where they have worked, what type of projects they have done. And this will be first. And the second would be what certification or courses that they have done. That's just, as she said, it's just to validate. But at present, in this scenario, what we see here, skills are more important than resumes, as I also mentioned in the PPT as well. So than the resume, we should look at the skills of the person, because that's what will succeed with what's going on at present. So you can choose to pick up any, depends upon what you really want to do. Check the course thoroughly of it covering the subjects or the topics that actually you are interested in. So that's what will add on value.
So you're talking about skills, and I'm relating it now back to LinkedIn, and I've seen lots of people doing skills courses on LinkedIn, but they're not necessarily, I mean, I know I can watch a skills course and I can have it on in the background, and then I can post saying, I've done the skill. So from a verification, you would obviously then utilize a portal that would verify those skills. And so not just saying, I know agile methodology, but actually do some sort of a test before the recruitment process.
Right.
Okay, just double checking that everyone else also does that. Okay, how do you deal with dropouts after accepting the job?
Yeah.
You want to try it, Nidhi?
Sure. So I think we are actually in a pretty, what we say, talent-led market, where like I mentioned even at the beginning of my session, opportunities, there's a level playing field. It's available to all now. In terms of dropouts, I think it's important to understand what what was their choice. I think I'd like to at least connect and understand what made the difference between, what as a company or as an organization we were offering versus, the choice that they made, because that's a great reflection to take on to say, what's important to people, what matters, and each person is motivated by a different motivation. And while it is not a perfect offboarding because they never onboarded, but that experience really matters too, because talent is something that you would say people would come back, and the opportunities again, it's a full circle, and there's another opportunity that comes and you get connected with the talent again. So while Aistė was talking about an offboarding experience, I say this is like a dropout experience in terms of conversation, still showing the interest, and then keeping them warm. And we call it in our world as talent communities. So how are you just staying in touch, making sure you are sharing more information with them, even though they have progressed with a different opportunity, because they'll still stay connected with you, and at some point in time might be interested in another opportunity at the organization.
I see Aistė. Aistė, you want to say something?
Sorry, I was muted.
Sorry.
No, I just I was listening.
Awesome. Do you have any insights as well on how Shilpi, on how to deal with that?
It's very strange to collaborate when I haven't heard what to ever say. So again, sorry if I will repeat, but I would say that it's kind of exit. Like it's just very short period when colleague was working. So if you will say it happens, so it happens, and if you will say, oh, never again, and now we are enemies because you drop out after accepting a job, so that won't lead us anywhere good. Of course, if you see that person is not reliable and evaluated our skills, so of course maybe you are right, but sometimes life happens and we just getting counter offer from company, but we are not bad persons in general, and maybe another time in another period of your life and careers we will join your company if you will keep professional level of exit for that dropout.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so Aistė can't hear our conversation when all our cameras are on. So to keep the engaged audience, the cameras are on. But yes, Shilpi, do you want to have an insight into that?
Yes. So dealing with dropouts, ideally we should take it positively. It may be situational. We have to actually understand and talk to the person, as Nidhi said, try to understand and talk what was the situation. It can be something really genuine, or it may be something that somebody's just shopping offers. So trying to understand a genuine person from a non-genuine, and if it was a genuine dropout, even if it's a non-genuine, complete that communication, close that in a proper manner. And that next time you should try to talk to that person or not by communicating. While the dropouts could be avoided, as recruiters in this fraternity, we are the people who are talking to these candidates almost every day, while interviewers do talk to them only once or twice. So having that open and clear communication, understanding those cues that you get from a person, that is he genuine, is he looking out for, is he interested in your organization, in the role. So that's something which will help prevent. So these are some of the points. While this will happen, and we must always be positive about it.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. Okay, so we have another question. What is the future of warehouse management in future recruitment? Secondly, what is the most in-demand skill for warehouse management professionals? I'm not sure if you guys are in warehouse management at all.
Not exactly in the same probably hiring. It's a very niche sector again for the role. But warehouse management, as far as I understand, it will take some time to pick up. Probably in the pandemic era, the kind of roles and the number of positions had reduced a lot, and probably 1/3 of it. But going in the future, when things are becoming normal, the roles, the type of roles, adding on to newer skills which will be required because of automation taking up now with a lot in e-commerce or probably the warehouse, the physical warehouses which are there, it will require some newer skills. So the people there should just keep studying, try to upskill themselves in terms of automation, keep watching what's new in this industry. And there are a lot of courses probably available online as well, which you can do and keep yourself upgraded and keep trying for the kind of positions or roles that you're looking at.
I think also, from a warehouse perspective, it was a very physical environment. So it's managing the actual logistics and staff and making sure the trucks go out on time. But now the technology has improved. So you have to keep up with the technology. So the most skills is the technology development and developing yourself in the technology space. What are the point of sales systems that are being used? What do I need to know from a project management? Because now it becomes a whole project management role. It's not just warehouse. So I think if you including some future thinking and going, so what would a warehouse look like? How in those movies, Back to the Future or whatever, where they kind of saying that we would have had flying cars by 2020. Yeah, no, when we had COVID, we didn't have flying cars though.
But you're really right. I think, Noleen, it is an industry which is going through a lot of upskilling, as we may say, because while it often feels like the industry has paused, but this is an industry which will go through a lot of evolution. And for those who would upskill, a few skills you mentioned, I would just add a few more, like not just like AI, artificial intelligence is one skill that is going to be very important, like just thinking through that. I was hearing a podcast recently around how in China, like there are now actually robots delivering food and, in the hotels. So it will be not far when warehouses are using robots as well. So a lot of that space would change, to your point, like project management, automation, artificial intelligence. These are skills that would be, looked for, and how we are adapting to it will become really key. So for someone looking at it, this is the new digital space, I feel.
Absolutely.
Just to add on one more point here, that now warehouses, the numbers though the physical stores would have reduced, but with the increase in the online demand, warehouses are again increasing. So the inventory management becomes really, really important. So the skills that people had for inventory management earlier will have to surely be upgraded now. And that's the field that I feel I see that growing very fast with automation coming in and AI coming in.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more last question. So I'm going to choose something that is pandemic related. How to convince people to relocate when a global pandemic and traveling is not the best option. I think this is a good one. How would you answer that?
You go on, Shilpi, and I'll add. We're completely experiencing this very real life right now.
True. So what I would like to say here is the first thing that the employer should show to the person, whoever you're hiring, is that you care for them. Showing that you care for them would, of course, mean that you do not force somebody to relocate if they are not comfortable with it. Now, again, so how I see in recruitment at present, people are giving flexibility to work remotely from their places. So it's not actually required to be physically present in a city. You can be hired from anywhere, or probably globally as well, and work at your place. Now, there are certain roles where the companies or organizations look at a physical presence when things open up, when things become normal. So what I would suggest is give the time, talk to the person. If you have hired him for the skill and he really deserves that role, he's somebody good who's going to add on and bring something new to your table. Give him time and help him or his family relocate with a good relocation bonus assistance. probably when they are relocating, help them move to the place and stay, help them search places to stay, get more involved in that, help them to settle well. And that will ease, of course, their inhibitions about traveling in this pandemic, and also ensure that they'll also feel that they are wanted by the organization and they'll be more loyal. So yes, that would be my advice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nidhi?
I would agree with that. I think it's the experience you create and giving the people the time, because it's a big decision. And as people make this decision, it is not just there, it's about family as well. So again, that connection and the care, even putting around a care package helps, because as they relocate, there's a lot of requirements. I personally relocated, though not in pandemic, but I know that even without pandemic, relocating isn't easy. So with the added thing of pandemic, the quarantine requirements, and, it just adds to a person's, things, giving them space even, and not expecting that they would start up right away. Like, let's not expect the person is moved, they're in quarantine. Let's not get started on the onboarding during quarantine. Let's be thoughtful, give them time to settle, and then, kick off the onboarding. It's the support and care that you show that would be something that people would agree then to relocate in terms of their own willingness. And when the time is right, they'd be ready to relocate too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for you taking the time out this morning and presenting such information that I think is so valuable in our time today. I know that it's probably took you weeks to prepare, hours after hours to prepare the presentations. We really value that. In our next session, so we're going to have a little short break. In our next session, we have talent and acquisition and retention. So it's talking more about that, and that will start at 11:50. And yeah, my colleague Ahmed will be hosting the session. So if you have any additional questions, you're welcome to contact Geekle directly. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So folks, hope you really enjoyed our speakers and their topics from the first block, which was free to attend. Believe me, we will have more speakers, more than 35 use cases in next 2 days. You can always buy your ticket. Use our promo code RECRUITTODAY to get the full access with a great discount. Join us right now. See you on the second block in 10 minutes.